So this week on the Any Given Runday podcast, I really didn't know where to go with this, and I could just mention our next guest, all of his accomplishments and stuff like that. But I really want to emphasize he somehow managed to do all this while being a self-employed dad of three, and I work for someone else and can't get anywhere near the running in. And yet he has incredible times with a 15-minute 5K and all the way up to recently doing a 2 hour, 24-minute in the Dublin Marathon. Mick Fox, welcome to the Any Given Day podcast. How are you getting on?
Good, thank you. Thanks very much for having me, guys. Thank you.
Mick,
what we want to know is, Mick, what's your favourite dinner?
Oh, I need to be careful in case my wife hears this.
I know you do all this running, but, level with me here.
A Sunday dinner, mate. You can't whack a Sunday dinner. Spuds and meat. You know
we'll allow it. Right. We can continue with the podcast.
I suppose we mentioned the food question, so we may as well go straight into this. I, over the summer, struggled with a bit of an injury and wasn't running for three months or so. I struggled to get back started. Eric did the Ironman in the end of October, and he's done very little since there. He's barely got himself out of the bed. He's done nothing at all. Mick, you were a cross-country champion when you were like 13, 14, and then I can't see how or why, but there's a period where you somehow gained 30 kilo, and people listening probably shouldn't do this, but a New Year's resolution for people to lose weight would be to run a marathon, which you did, has taken you on this journey to run a 2 hour, 24 marathon. I want to know first how you went from so much running when you were younger to getting, as you put on one of your posts, 30 kg overweight.
Yeah. Look, see, I put a little video up saying about being from overweight to being now, like the way I am now or whatever, and running the way I am now. And it's very hard to put in a 90-second video your whole story, and a few people were like, oh God, you must have ran before this. And I did. I ran as a youngster. And it was good. It was a good teenager. And then as I entered into my early 20s, probably on down the road of becoming a bricklayer, which was tough. So the job was crap, traveling, being out in the cold, and slowly things just drifted. I was always in, around, and involved in running. But I was never, probably as a young teenager, I was doing that well. It was maybe expected to do well as you go into your 20s, and it didn't work out like that. And it was slowly more and more not working out like that. So you're like, right, well, the emphasis you maybe put on this as a youngster, you're going to have to go and put it into being a good worker or whatever. So it slowly drifted like that. And then eventually, over time, it seems like it's gone so quick, but it was probably years. Me and my now wife went to Australia for a couple of years, and I ended up, to cut it a bit shorter, I ended up working in mining, where it was 12-hour days, 7 days a week, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. You're fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free, right? I come from a council estate, so this type of eating for free, right, was like, fuck, I'm putting this in plastic
Fill your pockets.
Take it home, right? So it's slowly, between just being there and you couldn't really train. I know look, I'm a big thing now, but stop making excuses. But at that time, I was already overweight. I was drinking alcohol every weekend. Then this whole thing was working away. You were in a mindset that you weren't allowed out to go on a run. It was also 48-degree heat where you're like, fuck it, even if I am allowed out, working out. So I'm not joking, I just pulled the plug and was like, you know what, why do I keep trying this? Why do I keep trying to hang on to it and trying to, so it just was like, sorry to be rude, it was like, fuck this, I'm here to make money. And I'm going to have to prioritise, just give it up, make money, worry about that and go into work. And without even realising, I'm not joking, I show my wife photos now and I'll be like, how did you not even notice this? Look at the size of me. And I'm not joking, I got up as far as, I swear to God now, I remember hitting 89 kilos and being like, fuck, I'm nearly 90, I'll touch the 90 if I keep her lit here. Why? So I just remember us coming home to the same people that you left, and they might have seen photos of you, and then you start nearly avoiding putting pictures up and stuff. You know, you leave this blank space where you're like, fuck, only put pictures up like this, or I'm far away, and all this crap. And then you come home and you've got family members being like, you're fairly filled out, and you're getting strong.
And the last time they saw you, you were probably that runner they knew of, and then you were gone and came back and almost like a different person in a way.
So that's exactly how, where, and when it happened. And the reason I wanted to put a lot out there was because, and some people were hitting it a wee bit thinking, oh, you already ran, like, so don't make out like you're just this fat dude who took up running, right? But on my part, I was trying to explain, and I'm not sticking up for myself, but I thought for me it was nearly more difficult because I'd gone from being a young kid and a young teenage prospect of being good at running to coming home and literally trying to run 5K at local towpath. I had stopped like 4 times. People saying, I know a guy from near he knows about running, and I'm standing there, this fat dude going, I know about running, I know how to run. So I literally sat on the sofa one night and said to my wife, I was like, the hell with this, I'm booking a marathon. And she was like, what? Never done anything up past probably 10K, like. So she was like, why have you any interest in a marathon? And everyone just seems to care about marathon times at this stage. Like, and I was like, you can say to someone you've ran an 8-minute 3K or a 15-minute 5K, and they're like, well, what's your marathon time? And I was like, I don't fucking have one. So I thought to myself, this would be a good way, even if you just do it for charity or just do it to get round, it'll get this fucking weight off. Like, and then that's where it all started. That's how I got fat, and then that's how I got started.
It is amazing. I had a fat Eric stage during college, so I went from playing. I was a very fat Eric. I was nearly 20 stone, and it's something that even still today I'm not over. So even still in the days where, or in the months, like, so for the last 6 weeks since the Ironman, I swear to God I haven't crossed the road. I've been studying, I've been packing up apartments, I've been traveling, everything else in life like that. All the excuses, beyond excuses, even that I know there's just no time until next week when everything is settled again. But I'm very weight conscious all the time now. Because I've been there and because I know what it took to change that. There was a deal made at some point that I'm never going back there. And it was the hardest thing in the world. And Sean was there for some of my parts of that, like not being able to even bend over or jog across the road, and I'm in pain and I'm just overweight. And then food is comfort. Like you said, like when you're in the mines, like food is comfort. You're not with your loved ones. You're not having a crack. You're with the same guys. The jokes are old. And it's like, oh, sure, I'll just eat out of boredom. I'll just eat out of this. And then the vicious cycle takes over. And I know everyone says, oh, well, if you do a marathon, you'll do this. For me, it was about changing the cycle. It was about changing the lifestyle. And when I stopped playing competitive football and soccer, and it was a case of I couldn't keep going down the road of as soon as I get bored, I eat. When I'm happy, I eat. When I'm sad, I eat. For me, it was about the lifestyle. And if I stop this, if I know, like, okay, 6 weeks, I've put on a bit of timber already because I don't stop eating. But if I stop this lifestyle, I will go back to being that man. Like, everyone's like, why do you do an Ironman? It's like, well, because Fat Eric is still here.
Yes.
I just keep them at bay with all this kind of but I just find that balance is where it all takes off. And I beat myself up so much about it, and I'm very conscious of it. Even now when people look at me, it's like, geez, you're not big at all. It's like, but in here I am.
100%. And I'm the exact same, man. Like, I'm kind of injured at the minute, like, and I'm only allowed out to run for max 7-8 miles. And I'm coming back and you're going, oh my God, I'm getting fat. I'm eating the same food I was eating when I was running 120 mile a week, and now I'm running fucking 30. And you do. I hear you 100%. And you think to yourself, how the hell did I get like that? But you just go round in a circle. You eat crap because you feel crap. And then the eating crap makes you feel crap. And it just goes around and around and around.
And I suppose for me, part of the difficulty with getting back was I always carried the doubt of I'm still Fat Eric, you know, and now I'm running beside all the skinny people, even though I went to nothing. I went to 82 kilos at one point, which was, I looked sick, to be honest. How did you find being good as a youngster and then going through that stage of being really bad, mentally seeing, like, I know when I went for a run, I'm like, I used to run a marathon at this pace. Now I can't even cover a K at this pace. How did you fight that mental battle of getting back to something you're proud of, I suppose?
Right. See, at the start, like, it was obviously difficult when you're carrying weight, you're going out and you're like, oh God. Like, I remember going to a race one time when I come home and I was fat and watching guys running certain times, and I was like, I could beat all of these people. Like, this 10K was won in like 34 minutes or something. I was like, if I put my head on this, I could. And I remember even telling my wife, and I could maybe thinking, I bet if she looks at me, I was like, right, okay, bet you could. And I remembered, honestly, when I started, and then you're jogging and going, how am I getting out of this hole? But I don't know what it is built into me or whatever I've been through or something. Like, I have this thing in me where the best thing you can do is tell me I won't be able to do something. So, like, different people saying things like, God, you've fairly put on weight, or you fairly filled out. Remember, you used to be a good runner, and you were like, oh, fuck you, I'll show you. I would make things up in my head, like, oh, those people, they're loving seeing me like this. Do you know what I mean? But the only thing I could do was sign up for something big enough like that, and I knew people in my local town had particular marathon times, like, so therefore I was like, right, I'm going to make sure I beat every one of them, because they're all talking about me. Probably none of them talked about you. They didn't give a shit about you. But at the same time, I just had this thing in my head where it's like, show me other times. I want to see them all on paper now. I'm going to take them all one by one by one.
Does that still carry you in the future races, or was it after that first marathon was just the love of running again, or do you need that kind of talk to yourself, like, this person's ahead of me, this person's ahead of me? Did that motivate you?
100%. I'm probably worse like that now. I go through these spells now where you get, like, it seems very weird. It's like imposter syndrome, like, where you're, shit, I shouldn't be here. Like, I shouldn't be on these lanes. I shouldn't be with these people. There's a few of the best marathon runners in Ireland at the minute. Like, and I remember being like, honestly, coming home after a half marathon, being like, I was only 10 minutes behind Gary O'Hanlon today. And then, then it's like, here, fucking 8 minutes in front of me today. And in Dublin Marathon a few weeks ago, I passed Gary at like 9 miles, and there was this weird feeling of like, what is going on here? And these are people, like, I still have so much respect for all these athletes. Like, sometimes I nearly sit and I say to myself, stop giving them so much respect, in a nice way, like, where you're going, you're entitled to be here, but that's difficult. I find that bit difficult where you nearly feel like you shouldn't be there,
Yeah. There's a great photo you have on your Instagram from last November of you and your coach. And he's running across Dublin Marathon 31 years before that at 2 hours 26:51, and you crossed it at 2 hours 26:52. Do you have that same kind of relationship to try and catch your coach, or is it different because he is your coach?
No, I want to beat him more. Honestly, like, see that he had that photo in his hall for I know him 20 odd years, like, from when I was young. And I remember staring at it, being like, how does anyone get around a marathon in 2:26? Like, how has he done this? And for years and years and years, and even when I done the first couple, it never came into me. I remember thinking, wow, still 14 minutes. Where do you make up 14 minutes? And then as I was getting closer, and I remember that day, as soon as I come over the line, my wife was there, and I was like, check his time. Because I knew it was 2:26 high, like, and then she was like, oh, Michael, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, what? She was like, it's 1 second quicker. And I was like, he knew that I wasn't going to beat it again until Dublin the next year, so he used to be like, I have it for another year. I was like, So I want to beat him more than anyone.
You must have been right in that starting line, because as you're crossing, you can see the clock above it, just that 1 second. It's a phenomenal photo, especially it's the story behind it.
Yeah, it's class. Like, it's class, and he's been such a big, massive part of my life for years. Like, even when I wasn't running and I was in Australia, I would have phoned him a few times a week, like, just about life, about everything. He's like a father figure to me. Like, so he's such a big part of my life. And there's a wee small part of you is like, feel a bit crap taking this off him, like. But at the same time, you're like, nah, do you know what? He's loving this as much as I am. Like.
Was he there for you when you got back into it straight away then for your first marathon back in 2018 in Dublin?
I come home fat and just surprise landed into him, and I swear now if he can hear this, he looked me up and down and was like, "What am I supposed to do with you?"
That's great encouragement to get started again.
He just looked me up and down and I was like, "I want to get back running." He was like, What am I supposed to do with you? Look at you. But yeah, he did.
Beep in reverse.
Yeah.
And there is a special bond, I suppose, when you look at coaches and stuff, and there's an element of trust you put in them, and that comes both ways, doesn't it? Like, you are trusting him where he's saying, go and put it in this tempo, we're going far, like we're going miles, we're going big, and you're putting everything into him. And from his perspective, they're putting everything into you as well, because like that, they want to see you be better. You know,
you see, that's the weird thing. I call him my coach, and he's been our club coach for years. But I self-coach. I do all my own training, all my own. He never ever tells me what to do. Like, so, like, from I got it back into running and doing marathons, he's never told me a session to do, a weekly mile. The first and only thing I asked him when I decided to do a marathon was, like, how many miles a week should I be running? And now when you think of that question, you're like, how fucking stupid. But his answer was just like, as many as you can do without getting hurt and without going nuts. And I was like, right. And that was it. Like,
I would question the not going nuts part, because you also had another post where you hit 1,000 miles and you said, my first 1,000 miles this year you put up on your Instagram post. I'm like, how long ago was this? And looked down the date, and the date was March 14th. So, like, in like 2.5 months, you had racked up over 1,000 miles. And I'm like, and like, you went from that to running another 4 marathons this year. Like, and I'm jumping well forward now with your current injury. Do you feel like there's when people talk about burnout and stuff, do you feel like they don't push themselves further enough? They're not training right to get further enough? Or what's your thoughts on that? Because you do have a lot of mileage each week, and you manage to do phenomenal times in those 4 marathons, as well as a half marathon out in Antrim.
Yeah, look, I think you see the whole thing with burnout, right? People are looking at that. I think there's a lot of people training at the moment, right? Now, I'm no expert. I'm not a professional athlete or claim to be one of the best, but there's so many people, and they're getting so hung up on all the fancy stuff, the sessions, the hard stuff, and I'm putting a lot of my stuff out there at the minute because I'm trying to get it across to more and more people. If you look at a certain person on social media, for instance, and they've ran a 2:20 marathon, you just assume that this is graft and it's hurt and it's sessions and it's tempos and fartleks and mile reps and all. I don't do none of that stuff. None of it. And the whole process of going from being fat was actually a good thing, because you learned how to enjoy running, just enjoy going out running. And the burnout thing, that will happen, and it doesn't matter if you could do that in picking 1 half marathon this year and go, I'm only training for that. And you do that wrong and you'll burn out, because you're doing it wrong. You're doing a speed work on a Tuesday, nothing on a Wednesday, speed work on a Thursday, wrecked on a Friday, hills with the boys on a Saturday, long runs, everything's hard. So I honestly think if you do things correct, not necessarily what I do is correct or good for me, but if you find what's good for you and what suits you and your little system and your lifestyle, if you're running right, you can run as many. Kerry O'Hanlon runs a mental amount of marathons 1 year. There 2 or 3 years ago, and everyone's looking going, how's he doing this? But he's just tipping away all the time at a pace of training that suits him. Do you know? So my opinion on it all is I just think people get so hyped up and looking at everyone else's stuff.
I think above all else, what people should be looking at is just consistency and listening to the body. Like, if you can stay injury free. So, like, a mantra we've kind of picked up, myself and Sean, over the last couple of years, and definitely as we've got more into the endurance game, was it's all about training tomorrow. So being out on that day, a niggle shows up, just knock on the head, because it's all about training tomorrow. It's all about being consistent. It's all about getting out for the next session, the next session, the next session. And that consistency, we're not 2:20, 2:30 marathoners, but we keep showing up.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's where we get the enjoyment is, we're still here, and it's and I think that's where people need to put their emphasis, and we say it every year, and it's getting to that time of new year, new me, and we're just like, new year, consistent you. That's all you need to work on, whatever that is.
I keep saying that. I'd be like, I don't want New Year, New Me. I want New Year, same me. If I can keep doing what I'm doing, I'm happy enough. Right?
How you're self-coach, which surprised me a little bit, only in the fact that you have a lot of runs where you start at like 5:30 in the morning, because you probably don't have any other time to do it. But like, and I'm sure it's great to say in the podcast, you know, 5:30 comes on, you know, the runners go on, tie up, and away you go. But how difficult is it to get those early mornings in, especially this time of year when it's dark and stuff like that? How do you keep staying motivated to, and like your times, for example, like a couple of years ago, you got a 2:40 marathon, and then you start slowly dropping it. Whereas like myself and Eric came with that, you know, if we improve in a marathon, we might take 15-20 minutes off that time, something like that. But you're fighting for little minutes over the course of 3-4 years. It has to be very easy to slip in your mind, go, I missed this session. I might miss this session. What gets you up?
Right. First of all, 3 kids.
Yeah. So you're not sleeping much either. I look at it that way. Like,
no, right. This whole morning running carry on only really started. We have a 6-year-old girl and twin boys at 2. And the early morning carry on started when, like, honestly, our boys were waking at like 5, and I remember sitting being like, what's the point of me sitting here? Stick the gear on and get out the door. So that became a routine, and at the start it was a wee bit difficult, but it didn't take long before it was like, oh, I like this. It's a window, and this might sound a bit mad, like when you're out on your own, but you could be 6, 7, 8, 9 miles from the house, and it's like, I'm doing this when everyone else is sleeping. And again, I go down that road of being like, everyone's sleeping. I don't care if you want to tell me there's boys in Dublin training at 6 in the morning. In my head, they're not. I'm up. Everyone's in bed. Have this shit done before you're even getting your sheets pulled off you. So there's that way. Now my kids are sleeping when I come back from my run. So I think that was the way I got into the routine of it. But now I genuinely just love, I've got a 2-hour window every morning where if I'm out the door for 5:30, I don't have to be back till 7:30, 7:45, which gives me 2 hours, 2 hours 15. And if I want to go down a different road, I can go down. If I want to run 14 mile, I can run it. When are you going to get a chance? Any person with a family is going to get a chance to run for 2 hours a day. There's no other time.
And it is something true. And even when I found with the Ironman training, the 2-a-days, if I was lazy and didn't take that morning session, life gets in the way after 9 o'clock very quickly. And the only session I could actually find sacred was in the morning, because your phone wasn't ringing. You weren't getting a meme on Instagram that would send you down a spiral for an hour. You know, like if you're up at 5 and you can just get moving, just take the first steps, get in the car. By 7 o'clock, the training is done. And that feeling is the best feeling. And I don't practice what I preach, and I always do it after I get into a habit of it. I'm like, this is the best feeling ever. It's 7 o'clock. I feel fantastic. The training is done. And then I still, every third day, go, I'll stay in bed. But that's because I'm just off.
No, you have to stick it out. You have to stick it out.
But it is one of those things. And people who are looking to do that change, it's something that's worth doing. It is 100%. Hard. It is hard to build that habit. They say it takes 3 weeks, 4 weeks to build a habit, but that's sacred time. And it's something we have. Anytime I've really taken my training serious, it's been morning training that has really got me there.
But Sean, you're right too. Like it's much more difficult in the winter. Like I stood out the front this morning and the fucking hedges are blowing everywhere. It's pissing rain. It's black dark, and you're like, oh man. But I run up the end of the road, and there was some fella hanging over a gate waiting on a lift at building site, and I was like, morning, and he's like, oh. I was like, you know what? I have chose to do this. He's out here because he has to, like, you know what I mean? So I quickly felt good about myself. I was like, hey, that's all right. It could be worse. It could be him.
Yeah, jeez, that is fair play. But I don't know. Like I'm in a way, I have that excuse because I do be in work myself 6 o'clock in the morning. But then again, I'm on a set schedule of like most of my mornings at 6 o'clock. I'm in the gym and I finish probably 2 or 3 or evening class, stuff like that. But you managed to come in at 6 o'clock, and then you're afterwards. You run your own sports massage therapy as a clinic. and you do that as well. Bit of a selfish question. And next, when you first had kids, did you think, and you're only getting back into running, did you think you might have to have knocked that on the head first, or this going to come in a couple of years' time, or was it something to push through to keep going? Especially the amount of miles you're doing a year, because we could like I said, you're doing 120 miles a week. So off the top of your think about that straight away, and then managing newborn, managing your own business as well, which I've kind of done little bits of in the past. Is like that alone can take up your entire mind space and be not do any training at all. Like some of my worst times I've been, my worst shape has probably been in when I was doing a PT because I was trying to manage all that. Yeah, you're doing that. The kids come along and that balance word. What's that? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, when these things first happen, your initial idea is like, oh God, what am I going to do now? Right, number one, my wife is unbelievable. Like she's so good at helping me balance everything, because she'd be like, right, in her head, this is a team thing. She's like, is this what you want to do? Is this what we're going to do as a household? Let's do it. Let's put all in. When I come out from a run every day, she's made 3 kids, sitting, dressed, eating their breakfast, everything done. I walk in, say hello to them, I get a shower. So number one, that's keeping a massive balance. If I was with a different person or the wrong person, that wouldn't happen. So she's a massive part of it. You try and break it in. You try and break everything into as many smaller, simple things as you can. For me, it's family, work, and running. So if I can just keep the 3 of those okay, just try so hard just to keep everything else out of the way. I'm not into any other sports. I'm not into going to watch football matches in the pub. I'm not into going out. I don't have anything else. I don't care about anything else. So if the family's okay and Michelle's helping me keep that whole thing balanced, I'm working and I do my set hours every day, which is like so many hours in the morning. I leave a gap in case I need to train again at lunch. So many hours in the evening. When I come in again, she's got the dinner made, the kids are down. It's just finding that wee routine. And I have had lads who are like, oh Jesus, I've got a kid coming, that's my training out the window. Number one, you're just trying to find a new routine. You don't have to, nothing has to go out the window, just find a new routine. And then number two, when you have kids, you have a whole different drive. I used to care about being a good runner for me, so I could be like, oh, look at me, I've done this and I've done that. Now, I genuinely just want to write as good a CV as possible. So whatever my kids go down, you can be like, listen, my dad done this, my dad ran this. That's my dad in the Dublin Marathon Expo history tunnel there. And now I have so much more drive in me that I have 3 kids to be like, this isn't for me anymore. Like, you do it, but the minute you do it, you're like, the kids don't even know right now, but you still be like, they're so proud of me. Do you know what I mean?
And it comes to that element of trying to set the right example as well. And it's like you said, like it's the person you want to be for them.
Yeah.
Something me, Sean, don't know about yet.
No, nothing at all. Like I'm nodding along, but I'm completely clueless on this extra drive and stuff like that. But obviously, I have thought about like, oh Jesus, well maybe next year, I'm signing up for a couple of different events, and maybe the year after. I hope she's not listening, but that could be it. Gonna wait. I'd have to pull back, otherwise, I'm sure she gets as well. Sure, run away from your problems or run away from that kind of thing. We hear stories about guys that only take it up when they have that, but you're using that as a motivating thing. You
won't. Don't ever think like that, because it'll hold you back in all aspects. I think like you shouldn't fear these things. I think in everything you should always look at someone around you who's doing what you want to do. Like I had someone ask me the other day, you're worried that age is catching up on you, that you won't get any quicker, and I was like, I couldn't tell you one person younger than me that's running quicker marathon times, because I don't pay attention to them. I don't look at them. I spend my time looking at people older than me who are running quicker than me. So I'm like, are you joking? I'm in the middle of this. Like, so it's the same with life. Don't go listen to somebody who tells you he can't do anything because he's got a kid. Go look at somebody who's got 3 kids, who's doing it all that you want to do.
That's actually a great way of looking at it. Switching gears for a little bit. We often hear about different races throughout the country at different events and stuff to sign up to. I haven't heard anyone talk about it in the podcast, but I do know people that have done the Antrim half marathon. On your post, you call it the second best half marathon in the world. Why?
Look, that's everybody's opinion, isn't it? Everybody likes certain ones. Like, I've gone to marathons that people said were the best in the world. I went to Berlin 5 weeks before Dublin. Berlin is the mecca of marathons, the quickest in the world, flattest course ever, best standard. I basically fell asleep for 26 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like,
blew my following question. Anyway, that's
sorry. It was like, but the reason is I think you'll favourite ones that you do well in. I like Antrim's a great half marathon. It's brilliant. You get to run with some world class athletes. It's class. But my favourite half in anywhere is Oma, which is up the road on country back roads with cow shit on them, you know. But I like it. I've run my PBs on it. I've run well on it. They're lovely people. They organise a great race. It's like, you can't get better than this. Like.
That's fair. That's fair. Go back to Berlin for a second. At the point of the context, you got a 2 hour 26:19 in Berlin, which at the time was your PB. You had already ran Manchester that year, Cork. You done a half Antrim a couple of weeks before that, maybe Berlin, was it?
Yeah.
If even.
Yeah, I played 5 weeks. Yeah.
And then in 5 weeks' time, and a lot of people listen will know Berlin's the PB track. It's a flat track, and they'll know Dublin is not. You got that over a minute faster. Was that because you were prepped for Dublin, or you enjoyed Dublin more? But with the hills in 5 weeks to take a minute off and make that minute off your PB in 5 weeks, seems bananas to me. Like how would you explain that? You did talk about you had more in the tank. What happened?
When we went to Berlin, I was excited about it. I was excited to do it, but it was like, I don't know how to explain it. There doesn't be as good a feeling when you're away for these marathons. You've only got whoever you go with, and you're going around streets and think it just feels, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as special, right? It is special to be part of it. You're on the start line of Berlin, which is crazy, and you get that buzz. But you're going around streets you don't know. This sounds mad, but the concrete even feels different. Do you know what I mean?
I don't.
It just doesn't feel the same. You know, I was in a group, I was in a 225, 226 group, and there was about 50 people in it.
Wow.
And I was looking around going, this is mental, mental. And boys were getting all wired up, and someone was getting excited, and then someone else, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not enjoying this. Now, overall, I enjoyed it, but I got over the line, it was like, oh, right, it was okay. But I just knew, I'm telling you, there is something so special about Dublin Marathon. I don't know. It's not one thing. It's probably 100 things. It's home roads. We're an hour up the road from Dublin. I was going up random roads and streets, and there's just people from Newry just cheering you on. It's just class. Your family can come and watch it. You can sleep in your own bed the night before, eat your own breakfast. It's just, I always run well in Dublin. I love it. I love the buzz of it. I secretly enjoy the rolling hills over flat. So in my opinion, go for Dublin. Never mind these fucking fancy ones.
What do you think? What do you think of the potential change of the course that they're talking about now? Will that affect the feeling of it, do you think?
No, it's not changing. That was all a load of rubbish talk.
That's what we're saying.
No,
Whose rumour is going to take top trumps here?
No chance. And if they change it, I'm not going back. That's my favourite course.
And that is very much the feeling of everyone. It's because they know every corner. They know, even those who travel to support know every corner where they're going to be to see you at different times. Now, I'm glad I'm not supporting you, Mick. I couldn't get around the city quick enough to see you at different corners. To be completely honest. After the Phoenix Park, I'll be seeing you at the finish line.
And speaking of the big six marathons done, you've done London as well. Same feeling as Berlin, just kind of like this new country.
London's a wee bit more special. I don't know about you lads. I remember growing up watching London. We used to hear that theme tune in your house on a Sunday morning, Brendan Foster talking, and my whole house, my mum, she didn't run, but she loved running. And we'd be down watching it. Watching Paul Radcliffe. I have so many good memories of London as a youngster. So I remember the first time I ever went to London, my wife had only given birth to our twins really 8 weeks early. And we were in hospital for weeks. She got them home, and I flew out the next day. And I hadn't ran a single step for 2 months, eating sandwiches and McCoy's crisps out of the hospital shop. And I was like, I can't go to this fucking marathon. I haven't ran in 2 months. And even before that, I wasn't in great shape. Got on the plane, went, and I'm not joking you, I cried and walked and jogged and cried and walked and jogged. It was just a ball of emotions. Our kids were in hospital for 2 months, all this carry on. And I managed to get around in like 2:53 or something. And I remember just looking at my watch the last couple of miles, being like, oh, I'll be quick enough to get in next year. So that's all I cared about. It was like, as long as you get in next year. And I got in the following year. And then that's when I ran 2:27 in the next year. So I like it. There's something special about it.
And Manchester?
No.
It's the fourth biggest marathon in Europe, but
I know. I see, again, I don't want to diss someone's race. It's a good race.
Yeah.
It's a good race, right? Again, it's a flat course, and everyone talks about this flat course waffle, right? Like, you see a flat course, that's great if you're Eliud Kipchoge, who can work the same muscle group for 26 miles, right? See us normal people, we need a wee climb, a bit of work, but we need downhills, we need drops, we need breaks, we need little recoveries. That flat stuff just knocks the same muscles over and over and over. I don't think it's good at all. And then Manchester had a stinker, so I was just like, no, that's a bad one. not doing that no more.
And instead of just moving on, I'm zoning in on Manchester. It was a fueling thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was under this illusion that I wasn't eating enough because I kept like bunking out. Like I was getting to like 18, 20 miles and I was just I'm hitting the wall, as people say, and I was like, why is this always happening? So I went into Manchester with this whole mindset, I am going to fill this tank up like you never seen. Like I ain't running out of fuel today. And I think by about halfway, I had taken on like 12 different items between mixed drinks, gels, bars, booking, breakfast. And my stomach just went nuts. Like it wasn't. Someone says to me, did you shit yourself? And I was like, I wish I had a shit myself. It was a complete opposite. If I had a shit myself, I could have kept running. Like, I couldn't. And I just remember, do you know that feeling of a stitch? I was like, I haven't got a stitch since I was 7. What is this? What's happening here? And I just remember the rug being pulled from under my feet at like 14 miles. And I was like, oh my God, we're in trouble today. Like,
I just grinded it out.
There's a photo of me coming over the line, and I'm so sad. It looks like you told me my dog died or something.
And have you figured that part out? Have you figured? Because again, as you said at the start, it's all about figuring your own training, your own fueling. What is it now that you do to get you over that part?
Right, so I'm trying to strip back the basics and be like, I run every single morning for like an hour 45 minutes, completely fasted, right? So I was like, I don't need to be taking on a lot of fuel. So I really quickly after Manchester, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I found Cork. Didn't tell anyone I was going. I was like, I'm going to go to Cork, get an entry. I'm going to put 3 gels in my back pocket, and that's it. I'm going to take one at 7 mile, 14 mile, 21 mile. Let's see how that goes. If we can run anywhere under 2:30, lovely. I get this fueling right. And that's exactly what I done. I went down, took the 3 gels, had a very small breakfast, small bowl of like children's cereal, half a banana, bang, went, took the 3 gels, and the whole fueling thing was like, whoa, that was good. Ran perfect, ran 2:29, and it was really, really hot that day. But the fueling thing felt bang on. So from then I was just like, right, that's it. 3 gels in the pocket, nothing else.
See, I'm like that as well. I prefer running fast, but I'm out that long. I need to have a packed lunch with me for 2.5 hours. I'm on
a flask.
Bit of soup and a sandwich at 18 miles.
Were you nervous that day going to 3 gel approach because was it much hotter in Cork that time compared to Manchester? We're both down there that weekend. I was not running. But it seemed like a very, very hot day where you're like, I know I'm doing this because of Manchester and having the 3 gels, but because of that heat, were you second guessing yourself?
It threw a spanner in the works really quickly. Like, you were checking the weather and you're like, oh shit, this is bad. Like, and for people from Ireland, like 20 odd degrees is roasted. And there's a lot of wide open roads in Cork. Like there was bits where me and Gary O'Hanlon ran together for most of it, and there was bits where we were ducking in under trees and stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm giving up on this. This isn't even making a difference. Like, so the fueling went absolutely bang on perfect. Like, so even though it was warm, then that made me more confident, because it was like, if this fueling was good on a day like this, what's it going to be like on a cooler day? Like,
yeah. It makes a big difference. And do you find with those, would you be interested in that kind of hot weather training? Do you find from getting days like that where it's a hot day, do you bring that confidence into a kind of a winter run, or the likes of Dublin? Does that make a big difference to you in terms of your confidence for it? Do you think warm weather training is beneficial if you're looking to do PBs, or what way would you see that?
I don't, again, it's down to personal preference and opinion, isn't it? I think warm weather training's for fancy people like track runners and stuff like. You know, if you get a chance to go away anywhere training at all, go altitude. Never mind running in the heat. How often are we going to race in the heat here? Like, let's be real. Do you know what I mean? You're not racing the European circuit here where you're going to diamond leagues at friggin' 30 and 40 degrees. We're racing in Ireland, like, it's fucking freezing even in the summer. So I wouldn't even, if I had a chance to go away at all, or do get a chance to go away at all, it'd be straight up the mountains, get some altitude training, never mind fucking going away in the sun, like.
Yeah, he goes pissing rain the year before in Cork, to your point. Like,
that's right, yeah. That's why I entered it. They're all wearing fucking rain jackets.
This is going to be great.
I went to come home with a sunburned vest.
Here's me going to Dubai just to do warm weather training. Well, thanks, Mick. Fucking ruin it.
It'll work.
Back to training. Just are you telling me most of your? Do you have like a one or two key sessions a week in terms of? You said you do no fartlek training, or no? Does that mean like no speed training? It's like literally race day is speed day, and that it makes you do more races, or am I reading that wrong?
I do one speed session a week, right? It's not a session as such. I do the same thing every week. It's a progressive run where I do a couple of mile jog warm up. I do 6, 8, 10, or 12 miles where I progress each mile. Like, so start off at 6 minutes, 5:55, 5:50, 5:45, and try. And so I do it on a back road where there's hills, climbs, twists, turns. So it's like these things have to be taken into consideration because these happen in a race. And that's the only session I do. I don't do mile repeats. I don't do 2 mile repeats. I don't do hill reps. I don't do anything else but that on a Thursday. That's it.
As someone who's incredibly jealous of your 5K time more than anything else, just because sub 20 is just breaking my heart. I haven't got a chance to get near it. When you're going towards something like that, or would you go towards something like that? Is it now just marathons? Because I saw you were going towards like 100K you did back in 2021 September, I want to say, and then you don't, or maybe you have done 5Ks and 10Ks stuff like that, or is it just all marathons now?
No, it's just all marathons. That I like to do that 1 5K a year because it's my club race, and it's mental standard. Like, I ran 15:01 and came 134th.
Oh, mother of God!
Swear to God. And like, you're saying you're jealous of my time. Like, I was like, look at this. I remember coming home and people in work being like, "How'd your 5K go?" I was like, "Yeah, I ran 15:01." They're like, "Did you win?" I was like, "No." "Did you make top 5?" "No." "What did you do?" I was like, 134th. They were like, "What?" Swear to God, 134th place with 15:01.
Do you reckon you're that fast a runner because the club you're in? Because I mean, going 134th in a 5K thing, and just the people you like, that level you surrounded yourself with is.
No, that's not our club. It's a world class 5K. So you've got people like the Brownlee brothers have been over at it. There's been Olympians at it. There's been, it's a big international race. It's just my club that organises it. Yeah,
but it is part of that scene as believing, though, when you're seeing that as your local club organising this big, right? It makes stuff attainable. Kids are looking at that going, look how quick these guys are running. And seeing is believing in a lot of these cases, because particularly in Ireland, we are very bad at putting glass ceilings on ourselves of imposter syndrome. We don't feel like athletes, even though some of our athletes are some of the best in the world. And it keeps us humble, but at the same time restricts us. But if you're getting to see this all the time, and I suppose one of the powers of social media, in a good sense, that you can see athletes performing well, and you can start thinking, I can be that person. I can train to be that person.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that can make a difference?
Yeah, 100%. There's good and bad to all of it, isn't there? Like, there's good to being able to see these people in the skin, but then at the same time, you need to be like, hold on a second. These are people who are paid to do this. Like, this is their job.
Yeah.
You know, we go to work all day and you try and squeeze in training. The same as social media. Like, I think social media can be a good thing if you use it right and if you look at the right people. But again, I like to look at normal people. I like to look at people who have got kids, who work full time. You know, I would much quicker look up to those people than professional athletes, because in my head I'm like, imagine getting to fucking run 2 or 3 times a day, a massage every day, food handed to you, and then they turn around and pay you a wage every Friday for doing it.
That's a good way to make a living.
Come on, like, so I'm not trying to diss them, like, but look at the ordinary man.
Is that what brought you onto social media? Because your social media is excellent. Like, and we follow you because we're interested in what you do, and for that very reason, like, Mick is attainable. I've seen you running, and you know, like, it's someone we can see the face.
Yeah, I've only recently started to push that a wee bit, and it's more so. There's a lot of stuff on social media where people want stuff from us. They want free shit. They want to be handed, like, you know, here's the best tip of protein you've ever seen in your life because you know. Right, and my whole point was, I'm extremely grateful and lucky where I'm at in my life right now, right? I'm very, very lucky. I work for myself. I've got a nice home. I've got a great wife and kids. And I wanted to be at that point in my life where I'm going, right, if I can put myself out there a bit more, people know I'm not looking at anything. I'm not looking at anything from it. I'm not going to talk shite. I'm not going to tell lies. So the whole point was to try and reach out to people and be like, look, I've been in a good shape as a youngster, and then I've got fat. I've been fat and eating too much and down in the dumps and in a bad place in life over different situations and different life things that crop up. I've been through all of this stuff. I'm now working for myself. I'm rearing 3 kids. I'm doing everything you're doing. So why can't you? There's no reason why you or anyone else can't turn around and do the exact same. Because trust me, 5 or 6 years ago, I was at the size of you two put together.
It's you're giving too much credit for how skinny I look in this camera.
Sitting there sucked in.
But even still, and it is something as well. And a lot of people talk. I was at a briefing today where they were talking about sports and how that can really affect the mental side of the game. And look, we're at the end of November, and it's a lot of people are saying, why do a marathon? For some people, a marathon is that challenge to get out of a dark place. It's do you know what? If I can do this, I can do anything type thing. And have you come across many people who are following that kind of path?
Mate, I'll be straight. Me, this was a big dark thing with me. That whole situation with being a good young teenager. I came through my teenage years, and when I was 13, I lost my best friend. And when I was 17, I lost another one of my best friends, a fella who I ran with, who I looked up to, idolized. He was a little bit older than me. So by the time I had hit the age of 17, I'd lost 2 of my best friends. And this was just such at 17, at 13, losing a friend, seeing your friends lying in boxes, this is such a hard thing to deal with. You're never taught how to deal with it. You know, so I come through an awful bad spell for a few years there where I didn't know why this had happened, didn't know how to deal with it. You know, and years of that stuff builds up, and it doesn't ever go away. And those little demons can creep back in you, and those little situations. Now, thankfully, I'm in a great part of my life now, but I come through an awful lot of struggles through different years with that and dealing with that, learning how to deal with it and being like, God, is this normal? Is that normal? You can't be seen out having a good time and laughing and your friends have died. Like, this is not, you can't be seen doing this. And now I'm at such a good place in my life, and all of this, when you're out in runs on your own, you can clear your head, you can use these as goals, do your friends proud, you can use them as things when you guys will know this, when you're in the deep dark holes of a marathon, you're blessing yourself going, come on lads, help me out here. So thankfully I've turned my whole life around to think of these things as in a different way. But there's a lot of people now still struggling with all these things, which is very sad, and they won't speak out about it, they won't talk about it. There's more and more people saying talk about mental health and gays talk more, and there's more and more people jumping on the bandwagon of like, oh, I've been through mental health issues, and some of them are a lot worse than others, and you don't know who to believe and who not to believe. But I just think that sport itself, marathons especially in my case, like these are endurance sports where you learn to just, you've already suffered. You've suffered for so many weird things and ways in life. This sort of suffering, this is easy stuff.
It is, and I found for me, marathon added a perspective on life that, like that, if you're going as a 2-hour marathon, you know, it's a different level of suffering. It's a different level of hardship to what me and Sean are doing. But if anyone's willing to step up and go through 42.2 kilometers, you're willing to go to a boundary you've never gone to before. You're willing to say, I'm going to fight with myself. I'm going to go into my own head. I'm going to do all of these things. That, to me, anyone who's brave enough to take on that is someone who's brave enough to take on everything that life is going to throw at them. And that's something that I think anyone who does the marathon gains from it. And that headspace of being on your own, that accountability to yourself is probably one of the best byproducts of endurance sports I've gotten for myself. Because there's days I doubt myself. I'm quite hard on myself. Sean gives out to me because I'm very hard on myself at times. But there's something after 6K that I find, you know what, I actually go a little bit easier on myself, and everything doesn't seem so bad. It's like I burn all that energy and anxiety and everything else, and then after that, I kind of make peace with myself, and then the next 10, 20K is okay till the pain and the hunger kicks in and the sandwiches come out. But it is something that I have got, and I have to say, it's been a fantastic byproduct of me with all the different things that life will throw at you and in the future will throw at you. And that's why I think when people are like, why do a marathon? It's more like there's so much more than just a run. There's so much more for you than just that run, and so much lessons that you can learn for yourself. To me, it was the start of something different. It was a different person that came out the other end of the marathon.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you not now, because you're definitely in a different place, but during that journey, would you have worried, like, if an injury or something came, was running at a time, I don't want to say a crutch, but like that was a time where you cleared your head, and like there's times like for example, I remember, I know it could be different, but at the start of 2020 lockdown, blah blah, I remember I was running for a good 4 or 5 weeks. I really got into it, and then it came, like, I got an injury, did my Achilles, whatever it was, and it was like 2-3 months of nothing. I realized the only time I was clearing the head and thoughts was going out for a run. And then when that got taken away, I couldn't do that. I was like, it just felt like crap, but I didn't know if it was because, just wasn't in training. Did you feel like the same yourself, that was your crutch at the time to help getting over? And do you worry that you?
Yeah, 100%. Like even now, it's still. You don't want to. Yeah, you're right. It is like, it's not like a crutch, like, but it's still a big, like, it's a stability in your life, like, where you're like, right, this keeps to me, the running, as much as I do, helps me keep the other two important things balanced. Because when I'm running as much as I'm running, I'm an easy person to be around in the house. When I'm running as much as I'm running, I'm happier to be working the rest of the hours. I'm happy to be in work because I'm talking about, yeah, I did this today, we did this, we're getting ready for this. So when it comes away, it's like, you're right, you have a little tripod crutch, and it's like, shit, one of the legs is gone. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It 100% agree with you, and it does. And maybe that's something more people should talk about, that when it does be taken away from you, don't worry or panic so much. Like, you will get back, you will get through these. I'm going through that right now, like, and I'm freaking out, and I'm going around, what am I going to do? This is nuts, But we'll get through it, like, and for some mad reason, you have to believe all of these bad things that happen along the way, that have happened for some reason. This included, like, this has happened for a reason. I'm going to come out the other side of this stronger, appreciating running a bit more. So it's all just trying to look at everything as positive as you can, not being Mr. Positive about everything, but as positive as you can spin it, like.
I get you. And Mick, when you do get through this, what's next?
What's next? Getting injury free. I plan all my stuff at the start of the year. So for me for next year will be that 5K again in February. In March, I want to try and find a 10K somewhere. There's a couple of good ones over in England. In April, the Omaha Half Marathon. 2 weeks later will be London Marathon. The end of April. Then May, take a wee bit of a drop type of training a wee bit. And then June, July, August, September, 4 solid, massive months of just piling the miles on. And then we go into August, Larne Half, or Antrim Coast Half. End of September, Berlin Marathon. End of October, Dublin Marathon. And then into Valencia, start of December. That's it.
That's it.
That's all. You sure? Miss 1 or 2?
It's all in the calendar.
I think I've got 2 events next year.
You got to put them down, boys. You got to put them on paper.
I have 2 for next year at the moment.
That better be January, February.
It's May and October.
One at the start, one at the end.
I need to get my shit together. That's what I'm going to do the rest.
Mick, it has been so good having you on. It's always refreshing. We say this after every guest. We always get great lessons from learning from so many great people like yourself running. What are some of the final tips you could give to people who are probably currently going through something you've done? How do they make them first steps? As we are coming into the end of the year, you're one of our last guests towards the year. What's some good things you can give people to just make those initial changes to get on that good path?
Look, number one, right, we'll go quickly. Stop being so hard on yourself, right? Everyone seems so hard on themselves all the time. You're always like, I don't do enough. You've just did it there now, Sean. I need to get my act together. I've only got 2. Well, you've got 2 more than someone who's got none, right? Stop being so hard on yourself. Number 2, you don't be big expectations. If you have to go walking, go walking. If you can only jog 100 meters every mile, you're still doing better than someone else. Get moving, get started. Last one, look around you. Look at, follow and surround yourself with normal people. Stop looking at all this fake shite everywhere of people spouting and shouting down videos. Big thing all the time. Follow people who walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the walk. They're not just talking shite. So surround yourself with that. You should be all right.
And they are all Any Given Runday Podcast verified as being class. And that is... if you need to meet normal, good people, they're usually on this podcast.
Just like us.
And on that note, Mick, thank you very much for being on this week's episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. You feel like we'd say something else? Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to say something, jump in there.
No, just thanks for having me, lads. Honest to God, I listen to your podcast a lot, and some of the guests you've had on, I'm honestly honoured to be on. So, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mick.
And I'm sure we'll get you on next year when you're taking on a few of those marathons, and we'll see if Berlin can become one of your favourites now next year when you're more familiar.
No chance. We'll talk before and after Dublin. Never mind the fancy.
On that note, thank you very much for listening. That's it from Mick, myself, and Eric. Take care.